Now, the Subway Final Word.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Bill Phillips, and welcome to the Subway Final Word, the show that invites you, the fans, into the conversation. You can get your opinion on TV here every Sunday night. Let's get started by introducing you tonight to our three panelists. Afternoon host at 105.9 The X, Mark Madden.
To be the man, you got to beat the man. Woo!
Author of Just Watch the Game, John Steigerwald, and Trib Total Media columnist Rob Rossi. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Some of the topics we'll be talking about tonight. Is Joe Flacco better than Big Ben in playoff football games? Is the trade for David Perron enough to improve the wing position for the Penguins? And is Pitt in trouble after a crushing bowl loss? What will it mean for recruiting? First, tonight's big topic, looking ahead for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ben's contract is on the table. Several veterans may retire. The secondary needs help. There are free agents to account for. What should be the biggest offseason priority for the Steelers? Mark, you're the man. Kick it off.
The Steelers got to rebuild their whole defense. Anybody that can go, they should let go. Be it Jason Worlds, James Harrison, Brett Kiesel, and Troy Polamalu are likely going to retire. It's going to take total focus in the draft, just picking defensive players and not worrying about getting somebody in the trenches for the offensive line. They got to rebuild that defense. This year was one of Dick LeBeau's best coaching jobs ever because he had zero resources to work with on defense and made that D into mediocre. But when the best you can hope for is mediocre, a lot of work needs to be done.
Staggy?
Well, you know, I guess you can look at everybody knows the people whose contracts are up or who are getting too old and all that stuff, and that all has to be looked at. But I think it's kind of a general thing that the Steelers have to figure out. They finished 11-5 and won the AFC North, and I've seen a lot of division champion Steelers teams and a bunch of 11-5, 12-4, 13-3 teams. There's something about this team. It just didn't feel like an 11-5 team, and I think they have to look at the schedule they have next year, which is brutal, and they have to take a look at their team and actually try to figure out how good they think they are with the group they have and whether they even need to rebuild, because you don't normally think about rebuilding after you go 11-5 and win your division, but I think the Steelers have to. I think they have to look at it as a team that is not going to get better with the group that they have.
Rob?
I don't know if you have to rebuild in this league. I mean, it's a year-to-year situation. Now, I agree, though, with both of you guys, and especially with Mark, they do need to improve overall across the board on defense. I'd like to see them get an interior defensive lineman. I'd still like to see them go out and explore the option of either drafting very high or trying to find somebody in free agent who can be a nose tackle. I think that would mask a lot of the problems that they've had with their pass rush. The other thing nobody's talking about, they either need a second tight end or a first one. I don't know if Heath Miller is coming back, if he'll be part of this next year. That's a big security blanket for this offense, and I think it's something that could bite them next year if they don't address it now.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. A reminder to keep your comments coming. You can find us at Twitter, at WPXI Final Word, on Facebook, at The Final Word. Pitt Indy tweeted us, getting rid of Mike Mitchell. If they do that, Polamalu retires and Ike is gone, is that too much change, Mark?
Amen. Finally, a tweet after me own heart. Get rid of Mike Mitchell. I don't care how much cap you have to eat. I've never seen a Steeler talk more and do less. The man is all hat and no cattle. I'll drive Mike to the airport. I'll pitch in to help offset the cap problems. Get rid of Mike Mitchell.
Let's check back in now on social media. We continue on. Andrew writes, Ben has to be the #1 priority, and we will draft for the secondary, but safety concerns me more than cornerback now. But do you think the Steelers will really go defensive back in the first part of the draft, Steige?
Boy, they haven't shown an interest in doing that too often in the past. I think Chad Scott might be the last #1 pick in the secondary, a corner anyway, not a safety, that they made. I could be wrong about that, but
that is correct, sir.
Thank you very much. I don't think they have any choice, but they also, again, this comes down to me to evaluating what you have, looking beyond the record and beyond stats. You have to, as Mark talked about the pass rush, you have to look at the video between now and the draft and decide, is our secondary as weak as we think it is, Or is our secondary looking that bad because our pass rush isn't very good and we need to upgrade that? Because that could very well be the case. I don't care who your secondary is or who's in your secondary. If the quarterback in the NFL in 2014 or 15 has 4, 5, 6 seconds to stand back there, it doesn't matter who's in your secondary.
Rob?
They have a lot of holes, but I think to just say they have to draft this particular position or this side of the ball would be foolish given where they're looking at drafting. I mean, they're going to be in the bottom third of the draft. And if there's an offensive tackle there, they're thin there, guys, and it's not getting any better. This is not a team, it's despite being very good on the interior offensive line, it's not a team that excels at protecting Ben Roethlisberger against teams that can rush.
Thank you for your thoughts, gentlemen. We've got a lot more on the Penguins and Pitt and the Steelers. Flacco versus Ben in the playoffs. Who's better? The numbers may surprise you. Gino Fan says, I don't think Ben is overrated. I definitely don't think Flacco is better. That's for sure. The panel debates it next.